name's James. Let's talk crypto. This is where you subscribe for daily Bitcoin updates and technical analysis. We track the price of Bitcoin as a proxy for the cryptocurrency markets at large. Today is May 6th, 2025. And today I want to focus on altcoins. All right. Obviously, we're going to look at Bitcoin, but I'm going to focus on altcoins and talk a bit more about why I believe we're on the verge of an important breakout in the altcoin space. All right, so that's pretty much going to be the focus of today's episode. We're not only going to look at the TOTAL3 market cap chart or indicator, but we're also going to look specifically at Ethereum and Litecoin. So guys, stay tuned, watch until the very end. Let's get started with Bitcoin as per usual. And as I said in the last episode, what I'm seeing with Bitcoin is a relief rally, okay? You can see here on the chart, it's not the cleanest, it's not the nicest, but it is a level of support that we're at right now. Let's make this dashed to disambiguate it from everything else on the chart. And you can see Bitcoin has come down to this tentative level of support that is about 2 weeks old right here, okay? And it's not the final level of support, but it's just a level where we can experience a launch pad for our B wave, okay? And I talked at length about that in yesterday's episode, but I do believe that we get a B wave, and that B wave be a minimum of 786 as B waves in a flat correction tend to target, right? So 786 of, so 78.6% of the A wave or purported A wave, which would be around 96,300, and then to a maximum of about 99 or 100K, okay? Thereabouts. So what did I say? I just said 96. Oh, I said 96.3. I meant 96.6. Around 96.6 to 100K, thereabouts, okay? That's where I believe that this B wave will target from here to here. So I'm just going to put it here-ish, okay? So that's the B wave. Nothing's changed in Bitcoin's analysis. We're just at the bottom of this B wave. And this is what I said yesterday, a relief rally. And that relief rally will provide the necessary impetus for an altcoin breakout, okay? So if you think about it, Bitcoin highest, like the most bullish scenario in this B wave, in this relief rally, is about 100K, which is only 5%, 6% up, right? Like 5%, 5.5% from where we're at right now. With that 5.5%, altcoins are likely to do multiples of that, okay? And this we should see very clearly in the Bitcoin dominance chart, the chart that we looked at yesterday. And we said Bitcoin dominance is at resistance, and at some point in time, very soon, it's likely to break down. I'm on the 4-hourly time frame here, and you can see with the momentum, stochastic momentum, the stochastic RSI indicator, a momentum indicator, you can see on the 4-hourly time frame we're crossed bearish and overbought. Here, I think even more telling, just looking at the candles, not necessarily at the indicators, you're at this 30-day resistance, 30-plus day I think it's about a 30-day resistance at this point, right? As you can see from here, yeah, it's almost exactly 30 days, yeah? And what you can see are doji candles or whatever they're called. Like you can see rejection at resistance, right? When you look at the candlesticks and there's a big wick to the upside at a purported level of resistance, you know that the candlesticks are expressing some level of rejection. Okay, so that is confirming the resistance right there. This is a good sign, because if Bitcoin's only going to give you 5%, let's say best case scenario, and I don't believe it's going to 100K or even close to 100K, I think 97, 98K should be the top for this B wave relief rally. Just balance of probability, B waves tend to hit around 786 to, sorry, let me just look at it again. B waves tend to go between the 786 and the 914, I believe. Sorry, I'm gonna pull it again. How do you pull a B wave like this from the top to the bottom? Yeah, so the 95. So I tend to, and this is why I have it on my Fibonacci levels. I have these levels marked off because B waves tend, on the balance of probability, in my experience, just anecdotally, to come between these two levels, 786 and the 95. So I would say Bitcoin reaches the top of around 97, 97.5, right? Around here. And that would make sense, right? Because that's your previous level of resistance. And that's the top of our box. Okay? So that's consistent with not only my anecdotal experience trading and charting, but also with our larger resistance, the top of our pink box, which was ascertained using Fibonacci on a higher time frame. So there is a relatively strong resistance at the top of this pink box. So I don't expect for us to necessarily break that. So I'm just going to put it back here. Okay. So that is going to be what I'm expecting. But again, given that it's a B wave, it can technically go all the way up to our 1618, which is 99K. It can wake up there. But again, it's not that important. All that's important in Bitcoin's analysis in the immediate short term is that you understand that we are currently expecting a relief rally, which is currently giving you a launch pad. And once that goes, that's going to give the necessary fuel for altcoins to also go. Multiples of what Bitcoin gives you. So if Bitcoin gives you 3 to 4%, some altcoins will give you 15, 20, 30, 50, 60, 70 plus percent, right? So that's what is important. This is why this channel, the premise of my analysis has always rested on using Bitcoin as a proxy for the cryptocurrency market at large, because if Bitcoin doesn't give you the space, the liquidity, then it's unlikely to happen. Yes, you get, your one-offs here and there from, random runners, altcoins that are going on the steam of their own news or whatever, but by and large, whatever Bitcoin does, the rest of the market follows, just in higher intensity. So if Bitcoin's dumping, altcoins dump even harder. If Bitcoin's pumping, altcoins pump even harder. The latter is called Altseason. So now let's go to the altcoin analysis. Let's get back to the altcoin analysis. And we already started with our Bitcoin dominance. So that basically, it's setting the table. This is why, one, I'm expecting a big move in altcoins. And it's quite clear, looking at this Bitcoin dominance chart, that we have yet to get an altcoin move, right? People who are saying the bull market's finished, it's complete garbage, or that we're close to the end of the bull market. How can you have a bull market with no alt season, with no altcoin movement? None whatsoever, not even close. Look at this Bitcoin dominance chart. It's nothing but up and to the right for a very long time, and I'm not even interested in going higher time frame and zooming out, but this uptrend in Bitcoin dominance is quite visible and clear for a long time. A rejection confirms our read of the market being bullish in altcoins, finally liquidity shifting into altcoins. So that's what we're looking for, and we're looking for an initial move, a first move. This would be the first move right here, as confirmed by a move down here. All right, now let's get into what I really want to talk about, just looking at altcoins by themselves. I'm going to do this in two ways. The first way I'm going to do this is looking at this aggregate crypto total 3 market cap chart. You can call it an indicator, you can call it a chart, it's all the same. The total 3, for those of you who don't know, is an amalgam of all of the altcoins in the cryptocurrency space minus Bitcoin minus Ethereum. So it's a nice representation of what altcoins are doing graphically, right? So it's a chart, so it's buying and selling patterns based off of a period of time. And what you can see here is on the 4-hourly time frame, since February 2nd, and I've said this for quite some time, February 2nd is when it all started. And by it, I'm referring to this right here. This was the final consolidation, the final accumulation. And it started with a capitulative move on February 2nd. Subsequent to that, you got 1, 2, 3 touch points on the bottom of this channel. And if you zoom out, and I'm just going to do this really quickly, you can see that this channel in teal is actually what we call a bull flag. It's a bullish setup. This is your flagpole. This is your flag. Okay, so on a higher time frame, what you're looking at very, very easily is a bull flag setup on the high time frame for altcoins, where you got your pump up, your retracement, and that retracement almost to the dollar comes down to between to the 0.618 of the flagpole. I'm not even going to pull it because I've done it in previous analyses, and you can prove that to yourself. Just pull up your fibs from the bottom here, your stochastic, or your what's it called, from the low of the flagpole, and you'll see that the bottom of the bull flag hits almost exactly at 618 of this flagpole. So you've got your bull flag, flagpole, flag, breakout, and that's what we're looking at. And so now let's go back on the 4-hourly, and you can see, for those of you who may be on the fence about if we're actually going to get an alt season, if altcoins are actually going to break out, I invite you to study this chart carefully. Don't take anyone's word for it. This is why we do chart analysis. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has their own interpretation. But an objective viewpoint of what has been bought, or not what, but how much has been bought or sold, and when it's been bought or sold, is presented to you here in graphical depiction with the chart of the TOTAL3. And if you can read it, you can see very clearly that altcoins are going to break out eventually on the high time frame. Now, the only question is when and how and all that stuff, but it's clean and clear. Just go on the daily time frame of this chart or the weekly time frame of this chart, and then work your way down into more granular, smaller time frames. Prove it to yourselves. Now, 92 days. It's been 92 days since we've been in this particular flag. And like I said, we've got 3 touch points. 3 is the magic number in technical analysis you typically need. You typically see corrective patterns, consolidations of all kinds express themselves in flavors of 3. And once you got that 3rd touch, you got your matriculation up and through this channel. Okay, and so we did that. And once you go up a channel, if you watch my analysis, and you're used to my analysis, you know that I always mention that you have to respect all of the different aspects of a channel. So the bottom of the channel has to be retested. Check. The midline of the channel, very important, has to be retested. Check. So the bottom was retested here. The midline was retested here. Now, what did you do? You found the top of the channel, and that top acted as resistance, because the top is resistance when we're below it, support when you're above it. Check. Everything's fine. There's nothing left to do in the middle of this channel. I previously thought that we were going to come back down here and retest the midline. It's unlikely and it's unnecessary. The midline's been retested. The next thing that needs to be done, and this is why I'm saying the breakout is imminent, the next thing that needs to be done is to break out completely of the 92-day channel. That's the first move in Altseason 2025. Okay, it's not going to be purely impulsive in my estimation. And what's the target going to be? Well, the target is going to be the top of your February 2nd move, right? So that February 2nd capitulation was your big resistance, okay? It was basically where everything died here on February 2nd, okay, of 2025. And there's a clear resistance here, not only because the chart is showing you, but also it's the midline of 500 days of consolidation. If you zoom out, you can see that. I have that in the green, dark green channel. This dark green channel is 500 days or so, okay? It's like 500 days, right, ish. So it's a high time frame consolidation. And the midline, just like any other channel, is going to be resistance when you're below it, support when you're above it. We're currently below it. So I believe you're going to find a resistance level at this point, okay? Even though we're not at the midline of that channel, right? Because I don't think that's necessarily the first target. It's going to be resistance because it was resistance in the past. So I'm going to put this as, no. Let's actually put a proper alarm there. Alert. Okay. So we're going to get our alert there. And I think that a high probability target for altcoins is around 950 billion given this analysis, right? And if you go in different altcoin charts, you'll see the February 2nd capitulation, the subsequent 92 days of consolidation, and that by and large, not in every case, but by and large, your first target to the upside is in and around the February 2nd capitulation top. It just makes sense. That was the top formed on February 2nd. And then also, just basic technical analysis if you're doing pattern analysis, right? If you have a wedge in pattern analysis, what's the target of the wedge if the wedge breaks out? The first target of the wedge is the top of the wedge, right? This is the top of the wedge. That's the final target of the breakout. So if a wedge breaks out, right? This is a wedge, 92 days. It breaks out. The target, the technical target of said wedge should be the top. So that there's a lot of confluence, right? Multiple reasons that are disparate that yield the same result. That is confluence, and that's why I think 950 billion is my target for the total 3. And then, more importantly, so it's not just important to get a target, right? Because what's going to happen is, and I'll tell you, many market participants in crypto are going to be elated at the fact that we finally get a clean and clear uptrend in altcoins writ large, not just in one random altcoin here or there, but like, the market's going to be nice and green, and we're going to get clean and clear breakouts across the altcoin space. Very few people are going to know where to take profit, how to take profit, and where we're going to retrace back to. Always happens. And also, I'll say this, your first breakout of any long-standing consolidation typically retraces much more than people think. So I really like this read on the market, given that I not only have a high probability target, but my retracement is also high probability. Why? Because I'm looking at a 92-day resistance here that's being broken out of and then subsequently retested. People forget that long-standing breakouts have to be retested. You do not just break out and then continue. You have to retest high time frame resistance as support before continuing. So, in closing of this total 3 analysis, here's what I believe. I think that we break out from here, where we're currently at. This is it. We make it all the way up to our first target of 950 billion, and then we pull a flat corrective breakdown. So it's not going to be a purely impulsive breakout. People are going to think, 950, and then we just keep going. No. We're going to retrace around 79% of the breakout. So most people are going to give most of the profits right back, because they're not going to know when or how to take profits, or that they need to take profits. And that's what you typically see in an initial breakout, where the market is very hungry to take profits. And that initial breakout causes everybody to take profits as soon as they can. And, it's musical chairs. Those who don't get a chair, they lose, and we come right back to the top. We're not going to make a lower low, in my estimation, in all markets. In some markets we may, and I'm going to show you that in a second. But I think in most markets, we retrace quite substantially. And that retracement on the total 3 is just going to be evidenced by a retest of this really clean and clear 92-day resistance that we've been under. Okay? So that's a total 3. That's my case for why I believe altcoins are on the verge of a breakout, where I think we're breaking out to, and what I think we're retracing to. Okay? So that's about, in aggregate, a 19% move, right? Remember, we said Bitcoin was likely to give us 3, 4, 5%, 19% in the aggregate total 3 chart. That's about what you should see. That checks out, right? It's not crazy. It's very believable. It's very plausible, very probable. I like that read on the altcoins as my initial breakout and retest. And yeah, so that's it. But the real party starts here, right? Corrective patterns, they typically happen in flavors of 3. 1, 2, 3. This is the real breakout, right? Breakout, retest, breakout. The real breakout, where we can expect massive gains, only happens on the retest. Don't forget that. So keep that in mind. So to end the video, I want to concretize this analysis with specific altcoin analysis. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm going to look at 2 altcoins in particular. We're going to do Ethereum and Litecoin. Okay, why Ethereum and Litecoin? Really quickly, Ethereum is the king altcoin, and so that's important to know, and it's a nice barometer of what's going on in the altcoin space. And then Litecoin, because Litecoin is also a seminal altcoin that, I don't know, a lot of people should be looking at, because it's on the high time frame. It's very attractive. And so yeah, we're just going to look at Litecoin. Now, Ethereum, as I said in the previous video, I think this read is very high probability. We have 80 days of a falling wedge. Okay, a falling wedge, that's what it's called, a falling wedge. And that was broken out from on April 21st. So when you see a breakout, again, you're expecting a breakout, retest, and then a final breakout. We have yet to get the retest, and I do not think that this is the retest. I believe that we are in the midst of a final move up. So we're still in the A wave, or the initial breakout stages. We hit our final target up here, okay, around 2000. And then that retracement is actually likely to come down below where the breakout started. A lot of people are going to be surprised about that. So I think the retracement in Ethereum is going to surprise a lot of people. I could be wrong, but I think that you do retest the resistance of this 80-day channel. That was horrible. Let's try it one last time. Good. The resistance of this 80-day channel before finally breaking out. So just be careful about that. A lot of people are into Ethereum. A lot of people are interested in Ethereum. Ethereum is going to be very bullish in this bull season, in this alt season. But first, that small move, that's about, again, 18-19%. And remember, total 3 does not encompass Ethereum. But Ethereum here on this chart is giving us 18-19% from where it's at. That's more reason to believe in our read of the total 3, more reason to believe in the likelihood of that read, okay, and where our targets are set. So 18-19% in Ethereum, I think that's what you're going to get. But then after, you're going to get a lower low. So be very, very, very careful with Ethereum. I think that lower low goes and retests the resistance of this 80-day falling wedge. Okay, and that's a 33% drop. And remember, Bitcoin down to our target of 65 to 70K is about 35% drop. So again, there's a lot of confluence here. I like the reads. So that's Ethereum. That's what I'm seeing. First to 2000, then down around 1400. Okay? But it's still, all of this is corrective. All of this is corrective. A, B, C. Okay, so this is why, remember, when you ask, well, why is it taking so long? Why is it so unpredictable? Why is it so messy? Blah, blah, blah. This is messy, unpredictable, taking long. That's the definition of corrective price action. That should tell you you're in corrective price action. The only time you should be taking long in a pure impulse is when you're in a wave 4 interwave, intra-wave corrective state. And that we'll get into once the party starts, once we get into, following trending price action to the upside. Then we'll hit wave 4s. We can talk more about the wave 4, Elliott wave 4. And then you see kind of side-to-side price action, but it's different. Anyway, last but not least, Litecoin. What am I seeing in Litecoin? This one is on its way up, and it is going to give us, in my estimation, around, around 60-70%, 65-70%. Okay, and I'm seeing this a lot in a lot of top 50 altcoins. 65-70% move to the upside, right? Meanwhile, Ethereum's giving us 18-19%. Bitcoin's giving us 4 or 5%. So if a Litecoin is giving you 65-70%, you can then also not be super surprised if a lower market cap altcoin is giving you 100 or 120 or 130%, right? So just keep that in mind when you're doing your analysis, right? It's not about seeing something giving you 1,000,000%. Obviously, anything is possible, but what's probable? When you're looking at these moves and you're calculating your targets, try and see, all right, does it match up? Is it likely, right? What's this asset doing? What's that asset doing? Your numbers should be comparable. Now, Ethereum. We talked about this February 2nd capitulation. Actually, Ethereum, Litecoin. The February 2nd capitulation looks pretty much the same as it does on the TOTAL3 market cap in most altcoins in my watch list, except for Ethereum and Litecoin. Whatever. That's the nature of price action and technical analysis. It's always interesting. There's nothing ever super simple. But that February 2nd capitulation in Litecoin was here. Okay? And you can look at it still as some sort of falling wedge. Okay? If you really wanted to do it. I didn't do it, as you can see in this analysis. I'm really focusing on the higher time frame channel that Litecoin is in, because I think that is more consequential to the overall price action, right? Because if I'm looking at a high time frame multi-year channel, right, the support and resistances of that channel are going to be so much more important than anything that happened 90 days ago. So that's why that's my focus in this particular asset. So that being said, going on the 4-hourly time frame, just to compare apples to apples, I'm seeing Ethereum, like I said, go to the top of this multi-year channel, and then subsequent to that, retest the midline. And why do I have that? It's simple. It's because in a channel, the midline is resistance when you're below it, support when you're above it. So if you're going up, you're going to have to retest previous resistances, new support. So I know that my first move in Litecoin is going to have to go up to the top of this high time frame multi-year channel, find resistance because I'm below a multi-year resistance, reject from that resistance, and then go back to the midline, which is now going to have to be flipped into support. Simple technical analysis. It's straightforward. Okay, it's straightforward. And so that's the first move, coming back to the midline, giving you 65 to 70%. And then using my pattern analysis for confluence, again, you can look at this in that way if you just want to think of our a 92-day move, right? So this would be a wedge, a falling wedge that you broke out of, retested. And what's the target of a falling wedge? Once again, it's going to be very simply the top of the wedge. My target, all things considered, is once again the top of the wedge. This is what you can do on your own, systematically going through your watch list, doing analysis to try to get that first target. And remember, lots of people are going to miss out on that first target because they're not going to take advantage of the move, because once it retraces, it's going to retrace quite substantially, right? And a lot of people are going to miss it. So that's what I've got. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was useful. Like, share, and subscribe. If you got value, consider tipping me by Litecoin, Cash App, Venmo, all at the pinned comment below. And do consider my crypto portfolio consultation and mentorship service. Also can be signed up through the pinned comment, through the link in the pinned comment below, where I help clients pretty much do what I just did for Litecoin and Ethereum, for whatever assets they're interested in investing in. Obviously, I help them choose viable assets that are actually going to give sustained positive momentum in the bull market, because not all altcoins are going to move. Some of them are going to be at top. Some of them are going to be, you know, on the verge of breaking down, as we discussed. Solana is one such example, right? You should wait for a significant breakdown before getting interested in Solana. So I help people navigate those pitfalls and, you know, do what I just did, find viable targets, take profit, and then where to get back in, because this is very important. As you can see, a lot of people are going to leave a lot of money on the table, and that's the nature of crypto. Big gains, big retracements. So yeah, like I said, you can sign up at the pinned comment below, or at the link in the pinned comment below. It's $150 per month, and we meet together for up to 2 hours every month, and I give targets for up to 5 altcoins. And last but not least, new exchange partner, CoinCatch. We're doing a promo event. You get $130, no bonus, no deposit necessary. All you have to do is a few different actions, a few different activities that the event requires, and you get up to $130. If you deposit $10 or more, you get an extra $20, so that makes $150. So that's the event that's going on, and it's going to be over on May 15th, I believe. So that's CoinCatch, also in the pinned comment below, guys. I'll talk to you next time. Take care, and happy first
without me. Arrived at the fork in the road, could turn back, repeat the same story, or march forward and embrace change and reflect upon his glory. I'm a selfish man, therein lies the whole problem. Torn between my actions and the will of my heart. I had to take it all apart to see where I stood as a man, to depart from this world and leave it in his hands. Come on. Yeah. Looks like I'm heading for the gold, y'all. Touring on a pothole road, y'all. I get it even if I didn't fit in, winning right up to the end, like I didn't even know, y'all. I have pop's genetics, working hard never to get it, like shit or better than letting life get the best of my efforts. Instead I dedicated to bettering my steps, measuring investments, watch me do it to the death, y'all.